The Outer Worlds was the most overrated game of 2019.
And I'm going to tell you why. Now, listen, a lot of you hearing that are already stopping the video, cringing, turning off your computer, throwing their monitor out the window. What do you mean? Outer Worlds is my #1 game of the year. Well, not so much. And there seems to be some good reason as to why the Outer Worlds has gotten so hyped. Let me just come out and say right away that it's a good game. I would rate it around 7.5 or 8 out of 10. It's polished. It's not a broken, buggy ass game like its immediate competitor, Fallout. But here's the thing: this is not a Fallout game. So all the marketing material pointed towards a substitute for Fallout. That's what everybody was expecting. No one was expecting the game that we actually got in 2019. As you may know, Obsidian worked on what many consider the best 3D Fallout, and that's Fallout New Vegas. It had a great story, great dialogue, great characters, a faction system. Yes, it was built on this aging, archaic system, which Bethesda is still stubborn enough to keep iterating upon instead of creating a new engine. But it was a really good game. And famously, there was a stipulation where Bethesda made a deal with Obsidian saying, hey, if this gets an 85 Metacritic, you'll get a bonus in addition to whatever payment they had gotten already. And famously, they got an 84 on the Metacritic. Whenever the contract stipulated the date was, which date they wanted to look at the score. They got only an 84. And I think that got a lot of fans a little upset at Bethesda. I think that was one of the very first instances where Bethesda was just starting to turn towards the dark side a little bit, right? And I think that was even before they made other acquisitions and got bigger, and they had picked up id and all that. I think that was before they picked up id. But anyways, a lot of people felt sympathy or at least empathy for Obsidian, and since then they were doing a lot of indie projects. I believe they did some computer RPGs. I think Pillars of Eternity was an Obsidian title. I'm not sure. I didn't get the chance to really play that game. But the develop that instance with Bethesda and Fallout New Vegas, I feel like earned them a lot of sympathy and empathy, and they're a great developer. They make great games, so you know, hey, they deserve some hype. They deserve some attention. They deserve the fandom. They make great games. Um, but because they were the original Fallout creators, because they worked on New Vegas, um, and they were presenting us with a very similar imagery to the old school Fallout games, and consequentially the 3D Fallout games. So they have some kind of like a similar kind of art style, but I'm actually less a fan of this art style. Funnily enough, less of a fan of this art style than Fallout right now. And that might have to do with like some nostalgia and stuff, since playing Fallout since Fallout 3, then New Vegas, then 4, being a big fan of those games. Except 4, I was kind of like, when I started getting tired of it, felt real bloated. But that's a whole other story. Um, but Fallout 4, I do rate it around the same level as Outer Worlds, maybe even a little bit better. I think I liked Fallout 4 a little bit better than Outer Worlds, unfortunately, because um, while it was very bloated, the gunplay improved, and there was just a massive open world. Um, in this game, there is no open world. This is not a Fallout game. I came into this expecting a polished Fallout game. Instead, we have a game that borrows some stuff from Fallout and then kind of does its own thing in areas in a way that is a little bit regressive. Some of the stuff they borrow are the dialogue options and gameplay, and you can see their dialogue is broken up into persuasion, lying, intimidation, but then also the tech tree gives you other options. The leadership tree gives you other options. There's a lot of different dialogue options, and from my playthrough, I didn't really, I didn't see anything too crazy that was like, oh wow, that's an awesome option to have. I heard a lot of hype about the dumb option. If you create a very stupid character, they'll have dumb responses, and that's really cool. That's a really novel idea. So they really worked a lot on the dialogue options. It seems like where most of their focus was. The dialogue was pretty good. The voiceover work was excellent. Even the facial animations weren't bad. They had some pretty good lip syncing, and that's a lot more than I can say for the Fallout games. So the whole presentation and gameplay with interacting in the dialogue overall better than Fallout, although there wasn't really any of those like what the heck kind of moments where you were grateful to have that. It's more like it makes some things easier. Like I beefed up my persuasion in my playthrough. I beefed up my persuasion right away. So the early parts of the game were like a breeze. I would just be like, click the persuasive one or whatever the speech option was and like coast through a lot of areas. Also with the gameplay, it starts off incredibly easy. As soon as I started the game and started getting into combat, I was like regretting picking normal. I was like, I should have went to a higher difficulty or something. Like, what is this? But the game has this system of debuffs that you can earn if you, for example, fall a lot and hurt yourself falling a lot. You get this phobia of falling. I forget the word, but in times where you're in high elevation or something like that, you'll perform less. You'll be less strong or less durable. I'm not entirely clear on it, but that's one of the debuffs that I earned, and I accepted all the debuffs when they gave me the option to accept them. I think maybe I had 5 in total, but my playthrough wasn't all that long. I didn't do all the companion quests. I didn't do all the side quests. The only companion quest I completed was Pavarti's because everybody said that one was great, but it was underwhelming. There wasn't anything too great about that. It was just a bunch of fetch quests. And that's what a lot of the game comprises of, is fetch quests. You're backtracking from hub world to hub world. There's no open world. There's no awesome sense of discovery when you come upon a new place, like in Fallout, and goes doom. That sound effect plays doom, and you're like, oh shit, I got a new area to explore. This is cool. No, there's not really any moments like that in Outer Worlds. You have these small hub worlds, and while there is some exploration, if you follow the side quests and everything, you most likely cover everything automatically. There's not that many like secrets out there, and the hub worlds feel kind of small. And within the hub worlds, there are other hub worlds. Like you might go to this planet, which is a hub world, and then there's these buildings inside the planets which are hub worlds. And you could say, Fallout is a lot like that. They have buildings that you have to pass a loading screen to get into. But it becomes more noticeable here when, there's just so many gates, so many barriers to go through, and there's a lot more loading. There's like twice as much loading with this game, and that gets very annoying. It makes it feel very last gen. It feels like an Xbox 360 or PS3 title with all the loading. This far into the current gen with PS4 and Xbox One, I would expect more seamless environments. Another thing that may seem like a nitpick, but was really annoying, was that there's no third-person camera. From what I could tell, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure someone will come up with a mod for it, but from what I could tell, there was no third-person camera option. I played on PC. Never, I looked through all the menus, didn't see any settings for that, and that was annoying because I like that option in Fallout games so that you can see more of the environment and you get to see what your character looks like whenever you want, and instead of having to go to the inventory menu and then you could see what your character looks like. Because I love when I get new gear to see how it looks and like have different outfits and stuff like that. Have like your outfit for talking to people in the town, and then like have your battle armor outfit to take on big old beasts. I think that stuff is awesome. And in Fallout, you get tons of stuff to mess around with. Tons of unnecessary stuff, sure, but it's still pretty cool. And you can make your character look however you want. And there's more options for changing outfits too. When it comes to cosmetic stuff here, you basically have your body outfit and then your helmet or hat or whatever. So you're not able to equip, you know, a shirt and pants separately. Ideally, you should be able to equip all kinds of stuff like belts and gloves and bracelets and necklaces and eyewear, all this stuff. I love when games give you stuff like that. If you're going to have a looter game, make it so that your character can be customized with all kinds of buffs, but also with cosmetic changes that correspond with the buffs. The gunplay is nothing to really call home about. It's solid. Surely better than gunplay in Fallout 3, but Fallout 4 gunplay was really good. The id influence really showed there. They helped them create a really good combat system. VATS is so good. Here you just get like a max pain slowdown, typical bullet time effect, which was used a lot last gen as well in a lot of games. Overused. The weapons are okay. There's nothing that really stands out. Even the shrink ray gun, which I heard a little bit about before I even played the game, was underwhelming. It only shrinks big people down to like maybe like a third of their size or something like that. The best shrink gun was in Duke Nukem 3D. You shrink the people down, you shrink the enemies down to cockroach size and you stomp on them. That's incredible. Why couldn't they have that in Outer Worlds? That would be awesome. But no, they didn't do that. So that was a disappointment. The perks, there's no interesting perks. All the perks are like little buffs here and there. Lower the time for your companion's cooldown. I mean, stuff that you don't really notice. You don't really notice it. Like, you notice if the game's is harder or easier a little bit, but you can't tell how, these perks are really affecting you. I mean, other than how it's listed, you don't really feel it. I don't know how else to explain that. I should be able to notice, like, wow, this perk right here. Like, Fallout has way better perks, man. You got a perk in Fallout where you can call out the mysterious stranger and it just come out and snipe out of nowhere and snipe somebody. You got perks that cause the enemy's bodies to explode in a bunch of gore and a bunch of pieces. I mean, Fallout is great with that. And then the whole hype with upgrading and having the little animation of like the Pip-Boy animation when you unlock something and like you select it, he's like doing a little thing. It's really cute. It's fun. And so Outer Worlds is really feeling like a last gen game, but without the nostalgia that Fallout has. Fallout, say what you might, there's a lot of problems with it. They need to change the engine. They need to upgrade the engine. But the nostalgia keeps people coming back for that. With this game, there's no nostalgia. It's just like a copy of Fallout, but like it's not Fallout. That's the big part about it. I'm missing that exploration. That's the biggest part that is really hurting it in the the gameplay department. There's durability with the guns, but my guns never broke. There was no real like pressure to find new weapons because I would find new weapons all the time. You know, basically breeze through this game, and if not for those debuffs that I came across, probably would have been even easier. I would recommend definitely playing this on hard at least if you do decide to play this. The graphics are pretty good, as I said. It's very polished, very technically sound. I played it on PC with custom settings, and I can say that you know, from testing medium to high settings, they scale pretty well. So even if you're not playing on the highest settings, it's still looking good regardless. So from medium to high, at least, you have a pretty similar looking game. Looks really good. It scales nicely, and your computer will you'll definitely notice the performance coming out of your computer when you change the settings around a little bit. But again, I prefer the art style of Fallout because this is kind of similar, but you know, it's like a copy of it, you know. And you know, I came into this game, you know, I was pretty hype about it. I was looking forward to playing this game, you know, ever since it was announced, and I didn't get it day one, but I waited a bit and then played it on PC, and you know, I don't regret my time necessarily. It was good. Overall, it was good. One pro I can definitely bring up is that it wasn't bloated. It ends pretty quickly as far as these kind of games are concerned. I don't know exactly how long my playthrough was. It might have been like 30 or 40 hours, something like that. I hear that's about the average. But I didn't play most of the side quests and most of the companion quests. After about a few hours in, and once I got familiar with the gameplay loop, and I started to realize that I would have to go back and forth between a bunch of different planets and loading screens, I basically decided to beeline it towards the end credits. Yeah, man, it just, you know, not that satisfying. Definitely not game of the year. I know a lot of people might think Death Stranding is the most disappointing game of the year of 2019, but no, I was very hyped for Death Stranding, and I wasn't really disappointed. Not really. It had a lot of good stuff in it, stuff that I did not really expect, and you know, it was an experience. It made me feel something. With Outer Worlds, I just kind of felt bored, and it was kind of a chore to even think about going back to play it. So it took a couple weeks, even though it's not that long of a game. It took a couple weeks to really, you know, force myself to play it. But it's got good VO. It's got decent graphics. You know, it's a very polished game. But I think people got really hyped about this because Bethesda's just not handling Fallout all that well, and they want to support Obsidian as much as possible to continue this franchise, and you know, to do like positive reinforcement, you know, so that maybe that Bethesda gets their act together, because everybody wants Bethesda to get a new engine. We love Bethesda games, man. I love Fallout. Even Elder Scrolls is not bad. You know, I know a lot of people love Elder Scrolls. You know, not necessarily my thing, but I like Fallout. I like the id titles. So I mean, they just need to stick to their guns and make good products. Don't release crap like Fallout 76, because gamers saw this game, and even though it's good, it's not amazing. They hyped it up to be something a lot bigger than it actually is, almost out of spite for Bethesda, which is unfortunate because you got people like me who, you know, rush out to play it. Well, not rush out, but take the time to play through it. And, you know, I'm noticing a lot of things that have not been shared in games media. I've only seen in some comment sections some people saying like, oh yeah, you know, Outer Worlds actually was kind of disappointing. But you know, if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe, helps me out. Put on the notification bell. I don't come out with videos all that often. Also on Twitter, GGG Videos, and the MC Faceman on Twitter. Happy New Year. Hope all your wishes come true.